Hello, guten Tag und grüß Gott. Today is Sunday, August the 7th, 2022. Well, I've promised to make a video once a week, and I think I've fallen down on that because it's really hard to do this, and especially, after you make a promise, now all of a sudden you feel guilty and saying, oh, you got to do a video once a week, and you couldn't do it. But let me just tell you what's happened here, because I think the last video was sometime in June. Excuse me. Every time I start talking at length, I have to cough. I don't know, as far as I know, I don't have COVID, and I don't expect to have COVID. I've been vaxxed to the max, but then there's that new virus, that BA5 or BA3. Oh, shit, I mean, what's happening, evidently it's, if we'd all just stay away from each other, well, you couldn't get anything, right? Because these things are airborne for just a little bit, because they go with droplets of moisture and so on through sneezing, coughing, that kind of thing. But you can also pick it up from surfaces, from what I understand. And, the whole thing is really kind of complicated. But let me just kind of bring you up to date as to what we've been doing here. One of the things we've been doing is we've been spending the month of July in kind of starting out kind of in a crazy fashion, because we had a couple of weddings to go to. My oldest son, Michael, got married, and then my second son, Patrick's best friend, Matt, got married. And so we had to kind of figure out how to do this, because it was really important that we support both of those events, to the extent that we can, even though they're like 1,500 miles or so apart, which is kind of interesting, So what do you do? So here's what we did: is my wife's really good at making reservations and that kind of thing, and so she got us an airfare, to Spokane, the state of Washington, and also a return flight. Now, we did this kind of early because my son Michael notified us that his wedding is going to be on 7/7/2022. And I keep saying his wedding, of course, it's their wedding. I don't know why I keep saying his wedding, but, it's Michael and Liz's wedding. So anyway, so what we did is we flew to Spokane on the 1st. Yeah. July 4th, actually, July 4th. So we flew to Spokane July 4th. We spent the night at the airport, and then took and rented a car, and then drove to the cabin the next day. So here it is, that's the 6th, right? So then, well, okay, you have to forgive me. I'm getting kind of old, and so the timeline, it kind of slips me, and I'm doing this, just impromptu as I remembered. So we flew up on the 4th. We went to the cabin on the 4th, spent the night there on the 4th. On the 5th in the morning, we drove to Seattle, where we had reservations at the Marriott near the airport. And that was all in a rented car, okay? So so we spent another day there, and then I went to the wedding on the 7th, to Michael's wedding, which was at some really nice resort, and I wish I could remember the name right now, but up there they have a lot of Indian names, and this was like Samoanish or something like this. There's always some sort of an ish involved, because evidently that was, sort of preferred sounds, of the Native Americans up there, There's Snohomish, there's Samish, who knows what Nish. But anyway, so it was a really great resort. So we attended the wedding there, and it was a really nice ceremony. and everybody was, on their best behavior, and speeches were made, food was eaten. It was really great. And a venue, there were waterfalls, and the couple went to the waterfalls, took photographs before the wedding. It was really neat. So now my son Patrick couldn't be there because he was the best man at his best friend's wedding. So he missed his half brother's wedding. But anyway, so what happened next? So yeah, then at the end of the wedding day, we drove back to our hotel, the Marriott. And the next morning, we had to get up. I don't know, some sort of an ungodly 4:00 kind of thing. We flew back to Orange County, and then attended the wedding there, Matt's wedding, which was also very nice. And I met some of the old scout dads that I was actually in scouting with. So the table arrangements were well thought through. I thought it was great. And it was here at the Hilton, right at the water's edge, at the ocean's edge, basically. It was a wonderful venue. And, like about 5 minutes from our house. So that was kind of a good thing. Anyway, so we went to that wedding. And then we took a day of rest because I think that was then Saturday. So we rested Sunday, and then flew back to Seattle because we had left a car there with a Marriott. Okay, so the interesting thing happened then as we expected, to take the car back about halfway through our stay in Seattle, and we expected to stay the entire month and just use our car, and then have somebody take us to the airport or so. But when we thought it through, that got really complicated. So we decided to extend the stay, the car rental. And that was really something because, when I called Budget that rented us the car, somehow they got hacked. And so I got this guy, with an Indian accent saying, hey, this thing is going to cost you like $2,000 more, but I'm going to save you, $1,500. All you have to do is pay that, you're going to pay $1,500 for the entire month, which will be great. That's a fairly good rate for a car, And so anyway, he says, but you got to go to a Walmart or a Walgreens drugstore, and use your American Express card to get vouchers, three $500 vouchers. So I said, okay. Hung up. Then I told this story to my wife, Marge, and I said, hey, this guy wants to save me a bunch of money, but I have to go to Walgreens and get these $500 vouchers. She says, hey, you know what? This is a scam. So don't fall for this, Jesus Christ, so anyway, I'm calling the main number of Budget car rentals, and so they intercepted that somehow. And then they kept calling me back because, they had my information. They knew that I had what kind of car I had. They knew my address, everything. It was really, it was truly hacked. And so we made the decision then, well, we can't just go directly to the cabin. So we had to go to Budget, at the airport in Spokane. So we drove back to Spokane, stayed another night in Spokane. And talked to Budget, to arrange it. And it was the total was around $2,000, but, not an extra $2,000. So we were kind of happy about that. But the thing is, is I told them, I said, hey, this is what happened to me. And they listened very patiently, and they said, yeah, that's interesting. And that was it. They didn't give a shit. So anyway, if somebody on the phone sends you and says, hey, take your American Express to a Walgreens or a Walmart or something like that, or a CVS, to get a $500 voucher, because evidently American Express will only give $500 at a time. So you have to use it 3 or 4 times. You have to, the vouchers are only $500 a piece. Anyway, the scams these days, I mean, this is definitely a sign of the times. So what else is going on in the world? So we spent a good 3 weeks at our cabin up north, and except now we're going back in September for the entire time, the entire month. But so when you think well, people are going to their cabin and all that, it's very nice and on vacation. Well, the thing is that Marge, my wife, who's an attorney, had to work the entire time because there was a big situation happening at her major employer, because she's a contractor to several people and several companies, and she takes on contract work because she has her own business, her own law firm. And I'm kind of a little flunky in there, doing some paperwork and stuff, or whatever she assigns me to do that she thinks I can handle it, which, well, sometimes it's not much. But another thing that happened in July, and that is on the 24th, I had my 83rd birthday. So now I'm 83 years old. Holy shit, how in the hell did that ever happen? But, there I am. I still have some hair. It's white and all that kind of stuff. I need hearing aids because otherwise I can't hear the TV too good. And, if somebody, some young person, really talks fast, and, if you don't hear it real well, then you can't process it very well. And evidently, that is connected to dementia. Hearing loss is connected to dementia somehow. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but they say, that, pretty soon you get to the point where you just kind of ignore the language or what's spoken, smile, and say nice, oh yeah, nod your head, knowingly and stuff like this. Always agree, right? And if they shake their head, then go shake your head. But you didn't understand anything, so you had nothing to process, and that's not good for the brain because you need to constantly process something in order to keep all of the neuron connections going that you have. And crap, from what I understand, we're only using like 10 or 20% of the brain that we have. We don't want to lose that 10 or 20% because, 80 or 90%, then it's just kind of there, in case we do need it. So, there's a capability of getting really, really smart. When I'm thinking, when Elon Musk, is doing all that Neuralink stuff, I can't wait for that, to have somebody, to be connected, to the internet or something. The only problem is, that if you look at the internet right now, it's all these friggin' commercials, I mean, as soon as they say, hey, they put up some really neat story, and then they say, oh, click on the comments, to get the full story. As soon as you do this, you get slammed with all kinds of things that they think that you want to buy. And, something has to be done about that. Anyway, what else is going on? Well, we have this person, and here's a picture of her. That's Brittany Griner. And she was arrested some time ago, some months ago, actually, because she had, some sort of CBD, marijuana stuff in her baggage. And the Russians don't allow that to be brought in. So they arrested her and put her in jail. And she was just found guilty of bringing, contraband into the country, and got a 9-year sentence. So what's really interesting is that, I showed you a picture of this woman, and, so I checked the internet because, when she talks, she sounds just like a guy, okay? She has an Adam's apple, and so I thought maybe she was some sort of manufactured transgender person because she also has a deep voice, so. And then I read, that her performance on the ball court, in the women's league, is really spectacular. She's 6'9", which is really, I guess she's the tallest woman in the entire leagues, But, she does Michael Jordan's, hanging from the rim and all that kind of stuff, so, but she was born a woman. And here, she has all of the appearances and attributes and physical, external attributes of a man. Size 17 shoe, wow, I mean, that's really something. So, if she didn't get manufactured with testosterone and stuff like this, which evidently she hasn't been, because, they do have to take drug tests and so forth, then she's really an unusual person. And I would say, um, a good way to say that without being too blasphemous or disrespectful, but it's a freak of nature, okay? It's a highly unusual person. So that's kind of interesting. But now she's got a 9-year sentence in a Russian jail, and Russian jails can't be really that good, right? We heard about that. Maybe it's better than a Turkish jail, but not a Russian jail. So anyway, so there she is lingering in that place, and the thought is that we're going to somehow make a trade, because the Russians want some of their guys that we think are bad guys that are hanging out in our jails, and they want them back, So we'll see, whether there is, some sort of a prisoner exchange, and it could be that the 9-year sentence, for drug abuse. I mean, well, if it's their law, and they make it that way, then that's the way it goes. But the 9-year sentence, like I said, sounds like the Russians do want to trade her because she's really a high-profile person. And but what's interesting about her is she's also very anti-American. She kneeled and she protested. She didn't want to have the American flag on the games. And her league just succumbed to all that bullshit, And, we have a tradition that, we open the sports event, with, the national anthem or a Pledge of Allegiance or something that, something really patriotic. And she was against all of that because she, evidently thought that that were either blacks were being mistreated or women being mistreated or minorities being mistreated or something in this country. And, we do have a history of mistreating minorities. There's no question about it. But now the minorities are tending to mistreat us, because, if you're a white male and trying to get a high-profile job, good luck with that, because, if there's anybody that's close to your qualifications that is a minority of some sort, you can bet your sweet ass that they're going to get it, okay? Because, white people are privileged according to the narrative. What a bunch of bullshit that is. Right now the minorities are privileged. Well, don't get me started on this crap anyway. Anyway, so Griner, I don't wish anything bad on anybody, and the offense, really, or the sentence really doesn't measure up to the offense. But, she was really anti-American openly, and of course in America you can do this. Try that in Saudi Arabia or some other country, or try to do hate speech in Germany, which is a free country. And they call hate speech anytime you call a Muslim some sort of a raghead or whatever, that now becomes hate speech, and they can come and arrest you. The people have been arrested all over Europe, for not being nice to Muslims. Of course, they can go around raping women and stuff like this because, maybe it's in their culture or something. All right, I'm really overdoing it a bit now. But anyway, so the war in Ukraine. Well, first of all, I want to tell you something. That we have a war in Florida right now, and the war is what kind of dessert is supposed to be the Florida dessert, okay? So somehow, a state has a state dessert. And the Floridians, the people in charge of desserts, picked out strawberry shortcake. And I love strawberry shortcakes. And boy, did that ever cause a firestorm because there are people that say key lime pie. I mean, what's more Floridian than key lime pie? Nothing. Key lime pie, and then so they're having. So here's the thing, they're having a hissy over all this. You know, people are dying in the Ukraine. People are being tortured in the Ukraine. All kinds of atrocities are happening in the Ukraine because the war is in the Ukraine. It's not in Russia. It's in the Ukraine, okay? So these are the people that are suffering, sometimes from their own munitions because, you know, when the Russians, you know, have taken over a village, it's not just the Russians there, you know. So if the Ukrainians have to do something, you know, there is collateral damage. I mean, this is really bad shit, you know. And I understand war. I've been in war, you know. I was born right after, just before the World War II started, and I was 5 years old when the war ended. So I know about war, and I was right in the middle of it. I've been invaded by Russians. I know what they're like, you know. And some of them are real assholes. Not everybody, of course, you know. But anyway, we're talking about, you know, in America, you know, we're having the desert wars in Florida, and here, the world is kind of on fire because this Ukrainian thing is really bad business for everybody. The Russians finally allowed some Ukrainian wheat ships leaving, and I think they're going to allow some more shipments. Now, you know, I mean, if you allow a tanker or you know, one of those cargo ships with wheat, I mean, that's a lot of wheat, you know, each one of them. But you know, the world depended on wheat and grain and sunflowers, especially from the Ukraine, because they got really good at doing that, you know. Anyway, Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, says every inch of territory that the Russians took, you know, we got to have back. And, you know, there are areas of the Ukraine that are kind of Russian, you know, because they're Russian speaking. And, you know, the Ukrainians and the Russians are using Cyrillic alphabets, and it's really kind of like a brother war, you know. It's crazy, you know. So I don't know how this is going to wind up, but, you know, this is now like day 165, you know, 165 days of this war. And now the Russians have just recently, maybe by mistake, you know, bombed the nuclear plant, one of the nuclear plants, not Chernobyl, but some other nuclear plant. And so they're causing damage there. And, you know, if the damage is severe enough and nuclides escape, you know, and are brought by wind to Europe, you know, that's going to be a really bad thing, or maybe around the world. So, you know, talking about nuclear war, though, I think we're treading too lightly on the Russians because we think, you know, they have nuclear capability. Hell, everybody has nuclear capability, and we're just trying to keep it out of the hands of the crazies, you know. You know, I can just imagine, you know, the world going down a shitter, you know, because some Muslim unleashed a nuclear bomb because he wants to be closer to Allah, you know. Oh, man, give me a friggin' break. But, you know, there's a good side of religion, and then there's the bad side, you know. And I'm not saying that all Muslims, you know, are bad guys, or all Muslims are terrorists, but you know, in the fringes, they're pretty bad. And we've had the fringes in our Christianity. We've had the fringes in Judaism, and we had the fringes in all of the religion, you know, because religion seems to just kind of span, you know, a set of beliefs, you know, and, you know, the bulk in the middle, you know, like the bell curve, is probably the right way because, you know, to believe in something and have a hope for a better future and a better life and who knows, a better existence, and even if it's not for yourself, for others, I think that's a really good thing, you know. And meditation in terms of prayer, I think that's a really good thing as well, you know. So, you know, from my perspective, you know, I'm still a Christian. I do pray, and I take the time, you know, to think about things other than what's bothering me right now. But, yes, there are lots of things that bother me right now, and that is, well, the market, hasn't recovered, from the late, the boom of late 2021. But we do know what happens in the stock market, is it basically averages, 10 to 13%, if you're wholly in the market, like the Dow Jones, S&P 500, or well, the S&P 500, maybe Russell 1000 and so on. It does go up eventually. So, Biden is trying to avoid the word recession, even though we had 2 quarters of negative growth, which in some people's minds, that's a definition of a recession. And yeah, well, so inflation is high, and that's clear. But we've got this crazy conjunction of nearly full employment, or employment like somewhere around before 2020, is almost there. So there's been a recovery in employment, but inflation is running around 9 point something percent or so, all over the world actually. Britain also. So interest rates are going up because you got to cool the economy down enough. But what happens then? People are going to quit spending. That means the jobs are going to go, and it's really, really a tricky situation. I don't know, way beyond my pay grade to even, so to opine on it is kind of crazy. But I just want to tell you that I feel great. I haven't gotten another relapse of COVID, but things can happen. But whenever there are vaccinations and so forth, I do take advantage of that. So with that, I think I bid you farewell. Made another video, and did not talk about my spiritual journey, which I'd really like to do, because I'm right at the point where I talked about church taxes and how the state religions kind of work in Germany, and my experience with the Lutheran Church, and my parents' experience with what they call the New Apostolic Church. And I want to at least make a small segment of that in the future, because I've gone through a process of believing in magic, all kinds of things, curses, all that kind of thing. I still don't understand all of this, but I can at least tell you, about my journey, what I now believe, and how I view the future. And, to all of you who are much younger than I, can look at me as a visitor from the future. So, with that, I bid you farewell again. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, so long, and we must infect the universe with us.